Once upon a time, there used to be a shop called Summerfield, and it was situated no more than 5 minutes away from my house. It was big and cheap, and for reasons unknown, the colour scheme was yellow. Its own branded goods were yellow. Yeah, just yellow, yellow, yellow. Now, this shop was popular in the area where I lived, as I've already said, it was cheap, so, everyone likes a bargain and all that. Oh, it also had toilets. That was another sort of highlight of the shop. Before I get into the story, let me highlight a few quirks or things I liked about the shop when I was a kid. One, the shop placed empty boxes underneath the tills for the public to just take. Two, I really enjoyed reading the notice board with ads on it from people selling things in the area. Three, for some reason, they placed wine racks in the middle of the aisles. I didn't really notice these until the day of the race, and it is here, with the wine racks, that the story begins. One day, my mother took me to Summerfield. If she had just taken me, it most likely would have gone smoothly. But she didn't. Nope, that day she had taken my sister and I, and my auntie had taken my cousins. Big mistake. Huge. Why? Because my cousins and sister, well, all of us really, when we would get together, we like to have fun as family. Running around and all that jazz. And it was the running around that was a problem. Shops aren't playgrounds. But that statement wasn't heeded when I was a child. So I'm at the counter with my mother, if I remember correctly, and all of a sudden there is this almighty crash and smashing of bottles. What had happened? My cousins and sister had been running around the shop racing each other and crashed into one of the wine towers in the middle of the aisle. Oops. Scratch that. Big oops. Now, this wine tower was just around a bend, so it couldn't be seen at all from anybody walking around. And I remember walking with my mother to the aisle, and the floor was just covered in red wine, and shards of glass was just everywhere. And I think my mother and auntie half-heartedly said they would pay for the bottles, but the manager, whom my mother knew at the time, and loved me for some reason. Yeah, the manager that my mother knew loved me for some reason, maybe because I was a pretty child or something, supposedly, just waved their offer aside and got someone to clean it up. But the next time we went into the shop, those wine towers, they were gone. I love that big yellow shop. I used to walk around and I used to walk on the shop and pretend I was a worker. I would actually rearrange the products on the shelves so all the labels were facing the right way. I remember secretly wanting to be one of the workers to see my hard work and offer me a job. Oh, I was such a loser. But on one of these little random sort of rearranging missions, in the bread aisle, if I remember correctly, I found a blue Mini Cooper. And not a tiny car either, like a big blue Mini Cooper that I took off the shelf and walked out the shop with. Little did I know they were actually selling the same Mini Cooper in the shop. So, yeah, I think I may have stolen the car by accident. But in my defence, it did have zero packaging on it. It would be like finding money on the floor. If it isn't in a purse. Fair game. Speaking of that blue sort of Mini Cooper, I did love that car. I may have to have a look for it. I may still have it, but I'm not quite sure. I remember the doors opened, and sort of the bonnet opened, and sort of the boot opened. Yeah, it was a nice car. And that's it. That's my tale. A shop, a race, and an accident with these wine towers that the workers just put in the middle of the aisles. Have you ever had an accident in a shop? Ever mistakenly stolen something? Let me know in the comments, and with that being said, thank you for listening.